These are all about references to fungi, and I have to credit the campaigning group Plant Life, which identified this issue for me and did all of the fine comb work to produce these amendments. And I feel like I should be contributing to successful pub quizzes up and down the land by saying that there's three kingdoms in the living world: plants, animals, and fungi, which together make up the eukaryotes, the organisms with complex cells with features such as mitochondria and nuclei. But fungi are actually closer to animals than plants, and they are not producers of energy, but they use external sources of it. Indeed, the world would very soon be covered in undigested waste if they didn't. Now, on many occasions, perhaps in your lordship's house, I will say tongue-in-cheek that I'm sure the government will agree with me. But in this case, I say it with absolute sincerity. I'm sure the government wants our legislation to be scientifically literate. And as this legislation currently says, for plants, read fungi, it is not such. It's like saying for apples, read pineapples. And this is something that's very easy to fix and would, I believe, have the virtue of legal clarity. We all recall, I'm sure, the arguments about the classification of Jaffa cakes as cakes or biscuits with regard to VAT. We don't want to see similar arguments in relation to the support of this bill. But I do think the committee has to consider why we have such current confusion. The importance of fungi is grossly understated and still little understood. Now, I outsourced this speech in part to social media, and the mycologists leapt in to offer some suggestions. So to start with the familiar, I would point your lordships to Fly Agaric, the fairy tale favourite of red and white. But I hadn't realised until the mycologists started talking to me about how crucial it is to the growth of birch trees in particular. I also can't resist noting Phallus impedicus. I'll leave it up to the noble lords to look up the common names for it, which is thought to have a close ecological relationship with badger sets. Its scent attracting blowflies, which quickly clean up the bodies of badgers that most typically die underground, unless, of course, we have a badger cull. But I'll finish by noting that up to a third of the plant's products of photosynthesis feed fungi and bacteria in the soil, pointing to, for example, the relationships with bacteria that help mycorrhizal fungi use their hyphae to seek out and scavenge particularly biologically valuable elements like phosphorus from rocks or decaying organic matter. These are immensely complex and very little understood natural systems. We've heard other noble lords in this debate imagine the countryside operating like some giant human-directed machine with robots buzzing around, everything controlled by chemical application and genetic modification. I would point to the complexities that I've just outlined to illustrate how faulty that vision is. We don't understand all of that, but we do understand the basic biology, and we can get it right in this bill.